Welcome back to Be a GM Mode, brought to you by Stick the Model. Let me share my screen here because today we are going to be going into the Washington Commanders, and they have $74 million in cap space. This team's extremely interesting because 2 years ago, they go to the NFC Championship game. They feel like they're close. They make some questionable moves, I feel like, that they thought would set them over the hump, and then they have an all-time disastrous 2025 season where they win 4 games and just are completely out of it. Health issues with Jayden Daniels, and then the overall age of the roster is really starting to show. Bobby Wagner, Von Miller, Debo Samuel, Terry McLaurin's getting up there. It's just a lot of questionable moves that they made to now be in a spot where they're at the bottom of the league. Can they build the correct roster around Jayden Daniels? Can I do it, to see if they can get back to the NFC Championship or possibly win the division? So let's get into it today. Let's click on the Washington Commanders, and there we go. For some reason, it took a little bit. First, we're going to do some cap management here. Let's see some smart suggestions that they're giving us. We have some cut candidates here. Free safety Will Harris, Quan Martin, Percy Butler, Nick Bellore, and Tyler Ort. I mean, that probably makes a ton of sense. Looks like that we can restructure some people here and then some franchise tag candidates. I can tell you one thing. We are not going to be franchise tagging any 3 of these players. They could walk out the door and I could never think about them ever again. So let's get into it here. Jazad Newton, great player. Shout out to him. Laramie Tunsil, tough move by them last season to make him the left tackle of the future for them. I thought it was a questionable move when they did it, and I think that it's still out there. A year left on there. It's probably somebody that they are looking to re-up, but we still have him under contract for 1 more year, so let's probably keep him. Let's just go through here. The number one player that I cannot wait to get off this team, and another questionable move Adam Peters made, was trade for Marshawn Lattimore, who just hasn't been good in a very long time. There was a point in his career where he reached those heights, but as of right now, it's just not looking like that. So let's cut Marshawn Lattimore, and we're going to get $18 million in cap space, which opens up a lot for us here. And let's continue to look. Trey Omos, Javon Kinlaw, somebody I still can't believe how much money they paid for him. I think Frankie Louvu is a realistic cut guy. Save $4 million. I'm gonna get rid of Frankie Louvu. Cut June 1st. Let's put some extra dollars in our pockets here. I like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. He was an interesting player. Mike Sandersill's decent. Tyler Owens. Is there anybody else here? Will Harris, 30 years old safety. This is one that they gave us. Say $3.9 million. Let's cut him loose. Boom. Tyler Ott's another guy that they said let's cut loose. Long snapper. You can save $1.3 million. I don't know. I'm just going to keep him. Screw it. Quan Martin, 25 years old. Like that. You know what? I like the moves that we made here. We're going to make a few more moves. Definitely not getting him, re-upping him. Let's just go through these. We made 3 cuts: Marshawn Lattimore, Frankie Louvu, and Will Harris. And the reason that I do that is because this defense just isn't very good. And if we can save some money and get rid of some of these older guys who I like Frankie Louvu, but he's not going to be a part of this future of this defense. So let's just cut him loose, put some money in our pockets, and continue to go. Let's just see if there's any smart suggestions that we did not make. We have Quan Martin, Percy Butler. I'm not going to do any of that. The restructured candidates, convertible over 3 years. I think the one that we should do, $5.5 million worth of savings. That's a lot of money. And let's go to Javon Kinlaw, because he's somebody who I still can't believe that they spent the amount of money that they did on him. So let's restructure him. Let's do this. Should we add the void year? Add 1 void year. And let's restructure Javon Kinlaw, who again, still can't believe that they gave him as big of a contract as they did. Let's now go to the trade area here. And boom, right away, there are some players that I'm not really loving off the rip. I don't really love Calvin Ridley in any way, shape, or form. I don't think we should add another banged up old wide receiver to this roster. We need to really figure out a way to bring in some youth to this team. So I'm going to decline that. I really like Garrett Williams. Looks like Tremaine Edmonds might be a cap casualty guy. Blake Cashman, interior linebacker. I'm going to do this. I want to counter this deal here. I think this is probably I think around they just have no picks. Like I don't think that any of this makes much sense. So I'm going to decline all of these because we're just not in a position, as much as I love Garrett Williams, this team just isn't in much of a position to give out a lot of picks. We need to keep these picks, see if we can hit on some young talent and focus on getting young talent and building up this roster around Jayden Daniels. Let's not give away more picks for older players who might be a question mark. I think that kind of defeats the purpose of where the Washington Commanders are at currently within their rebuild. So I don't think I'm going to do any trades, which this would be the first time that we didn't do a trade in one of these rebuilds. So let's just continue on here and go into free agency. Definitely like Chris Rodriguez. I'm going to keep Chris Rodriguez. And let's just go over our pending free agents. Debo, we're letting walk out of the door. Bobby Wagner, we're letting walk out of the door. Zach Ertz, like all of these guys don't really have many legs to stand on in this. Like Von Miller, we don't need him. I like Drake Jackson, but he can't stay healthy. A lot of these guys. One guy that I think was decent and somebody that we can bet on pedigree and somebody that we can get back for a little bit cheaper and have as a rotational piece at wide receiver is Treylon Burks. I'm going to sign him to a 2-year deal. I'm going to go a little bit below market, and he's going to accept that offer. Again, he's a younger player. Let's keep good young players in the building, and not that he's good, but he had moments last year. Let's see if we can build on top of it. So the first thing I want to do is we have money to make this happen. And I do personally think that George Pickens, I haven't touched him on any of these rebuilds. I didn't let the Titans touch him, but I like the idea of George Pickens wanting to play with Jayden Daniels. I think Jayden Daniels would also really like the idea of playing with George Pickens. And he's 25 years old. He had a damn good season last year. We have the cap space to do it. This team really needs a wide receiver, especially with Terry McLaurin kind of on the downtick here. I think that I'm going to sign him to, and I want to look this up real quick before we continue. Go to Spotrac. Let's go to the NFL. And let's go to contracts by position, and let's just see realistically where he would fall under. Jamar Chase is making $40 million a year. Justin Jefferson's making 35. CD Lamb's making 34. So I think that he probably is going to be making about this money. I mean, he's that good. I thought he proved it even along CD Lamb being able to just like really dominate in that offense all season long. I mean, I had him in fantasy and it was amazing to watch. So let's clock him in at $35.3 million per year for a 4-year contract, and let's make that offer. And boom, George Pickens is a Washington Commander. That's electric. Thank God. Now, there's a few other positions that I feel like they need, and this team stinks. So we need wide receiver, we need tight end, we need O-line, we need an edge rusher badly. We need secondary. That's pretty much all there is to it. So let's go into I like the idea of adding a tight end, and there's somebody who I really like, and I wonder if he's on here. For some reason, I don't think that he is available. Isaiah Likely. So Isaiah, this is what I'm talking about here. Can the Commanders figure out a way to add really good young talent? And this is another one who Isaiah Likely. We just signed a 25-year-old superstar wide receiver. Can we get Isaiah Likely, who has played with Lamar Jackson, who is familiar with kind of the run first style quarterback that like he can kind of adjust as the quarterback's running. He's used to doing that with Lamar Jackson. I like the idea. I'm going to add him to a 3-year deal and pay him $11 million, 6% below. We just signed Isaiah Likely to the Washington Commanders. So boom, right off the rip, we have 2 weapons that this team desperately needed. We retained Treylon Burks, which first round bust, but can he be something? We still have a older, but he can be productive at times, Terry McLaurin. We add a 25-year-old superstar wide receiver, and we add a 26-year-old star at tight end, Isaiah Likely, who I think the sky's the limit, honestly, at this point for him in his career. So let's go to edge and just see what's available. Again, I don't want an old player, and I think that a lot of the time is going to be what they're going to be looking for. Cleveon Chason's very interesting. He played really well for the Patriots this season. So that's who I'm going to go with here. Take a shot on a guy. And this is another, I'm going to do a 2-year deal with Cleveon Chason at 12. Can we go 11.5 mil, 4% below market? That again will get, is he elite? No. He was great at LSU, came out. He was decent with the Jags. He went to the Patriots. I feel kind of had like a breakout-ish type year. Can we get him into a bigger role with the Commanders? And I kind of like the idea of that. So with Dan Quinn, is there anybody else that we can take a shot at here at edge? And I think that there is somebody that I have in mind. And that is, no, not Josh Uche. He's been a common name in all of these, and he kind of stinks. I don't know if he'll play much. Marcus Davenport, man. I loved him in Madden a long time ago. So I don't think that I'm going to add anybody else at edge currently. Gross Matos is actually an interesting name here. Where did he just go? Maybe I'm just tripping. Yeah, I think I am just tripping. So let's just continue here. I kind of like the idea of bringing Drake Jackson back just as a, like, why not type of thing. He's young. He just needs to stay healthy at this point. And can he figure that out? Now let's go to corner. Cordero Flott, Tyreek Woolen, Greg Newsome's really good. I love Jaquan McMillan as a nickel. Josh Jobe is probably interesting, but there's somebody who I think is going to get a lot of buzz in this free agency period just because I love Martin Emerson, just because he's an interesting cat. He's got the look and the build to be great, and I think that he played well above expectation this season, and that's Nahshon Wright. And he's 28 years old, and he's a long, lengthy corner. Can he take that next step? Who knows? I'm going to add him on a 2-year deal. I'm just going to pay him at market, 1% below, and he agrees to that. So boom, we have corner, and I want to add one more actual rotational piece at corner here and see what's available. Definitely not a Dory Jackson. He stinks. Jalen Mills stinks. Kello Witherspoon. These guys are old, man. There's somebody that we can take a shot at. I'm going to go with Starling Thomas the fourth. And he's younger. He's coming off of an ACL tear. So I'm going to go 10% below market because he's coming off of that tear. Decent nickel. Again, we just needed a depth piece to go around here, and offer rejected. I'm forcing this. Screw you, Starling Thompson. You don't have any say of what you want. So boom, we have that. Linebacker, I don't know if I'm going to be that keen on the fact of like potentially wanting to pay a linebacker a ton of money. Isaiah Simmons, my dog. If you play Madden, you know. Kenneth Murray, he stinks, but could be a rotational piece. Shoot, man. Devin White stinks. Really like the idea of Leo Chanel. I like the idea of Nakobe Dean. I like the idea of Devin Lloyd. Quay Walker, I really like the idea of. I'm between Leo. I'm going to go Quay Walker, who is a 26-year-old starter. I'm going to give him on a 3-year deal. I'm going to go a little bit below market. I just like him. He's tall, rangy. He was really good with the Green Bay Packers. Let's get him in here with Dan Quinn. He needs a linebacker at this point. So, boom, let's get him in here. Now we're a little bit in risk, but I want to make one more move along the offensive line if possible. Is there anybody that makes sense? Rasheed Walker's an interesting play. Love Tyler Linderbaum. That's not going to happen. I like the idea. We definitely need something. We need something here. Can we take a risk on a guy who didn't pan out somewhere and bring him in here? Definitely not Braxton Jones. Let's go with Evan Neal. No, he stinks. $9 million. At that point, might as well just pay him. Let's go with Josh Jones. Sign him for a 2-year deal along the interior. We have some future risk here. It's completely fine. We're going to continue to move on. I want to pull up my mock here and see where I took what I took with the Commanders in my first ever mock draft for the 2026, because I forget off the top of my head. And I took edge Keldrick Folk from Auburn, which I would probably end up doing that in this rebuild. Again, we're going to do the first round only. We're going to do it quick just because we're not going to go through all 7 rounds. I don't know the entire draft class like that. I could do like the first 2, but after that, I'm just going to be pretty much shooting, like throwing a dart at the wall. So let's go into the first round of the NFL draft here. And let's just start out. We have pick number 7, and boom, Fernando Mendoza, Cardinal Tate, Arvell Reese, David Bailey, Jordan Tyson, Spencer Fano. We have something interesting going on here. We have a top tackle on the board. We have Jeremiah Love on the board. We have Kendrick Folk on the board. We have Mekhi Lemon. There's a lot of directions that you can take in this draft. But I have always said, and we just made a video about this the other day, me and Noah, edge rusher might be the most important position like in the draft. And Kendrick Folk is going to be one of those guys who is boom or bust, somebody that I really like, but I could see him like spiking and being a superstar. And I like him over Reuben Bain Jr. So he might have fallen a little bit like in the grand scheme of things, but I'm going to take, or he might go later when the NFL draft happens, but I like him. I like all of his measurables. I like how explosive he is. He's a dog, played for Auburn. I'm going to go with Kendrick Folk with this number 7 pick in the NFL draft. And let's finish the first round here. Boom. Off-season grade, we get a B+. Cap health is at 22 out of 25. Needs fulfilled, 18 out of 30. Future outlook, 20 out of 20, which I think is imperative for the Commanders at this point. And roster moves, 17 out of 25. So right away, you tighten the cap by cutting 3 players, restructuring 1 contract. The biggest move was releasing Marshawn Lattimore. We saved $18.5 million. We placed restricted free agent tenders on Chris Rodriguez Jr. In free agency, we made 9 signings. Headline by George Pickens, wide receiver, $35.3 million per year. And we picked Kendrick Folk with our first pick in the NFL draft. So let's just look at this here. Right away, George Pickens is going to be move to our wide receiver 1 spot. I'm going to do here. Jalen Lane, I mean, this wide receiver doesn't look as bad anymore. Same thing here with the hold on, where's my guy? I was about to say, if I don't have Isaiah Likely, I'm gonna freak out. That's messed up a little bit, but it is what it is. I'm not thrilled with what we have at line. There's Josh Jones. Tyler Biotish is pretty good. I'm not thrilled what we have with O-line, but that's going to be something that we have to figure out, especially Jayden Daniels was injured last year. That kind of sucks that we didn't make that a little bit more of a priority in this, but I was just worried about getting the amount of young talent that's out there right now from a wide receiver perspective, tight end perspective. I focus on that more. Those are guys that they're going to be able to just grow with over the next 3. We signed both of them to George to a 4-year deal, Isaiah Likely to a 3-year deal to just flourish with Jayden Daniels over the next few seasons. Kendrick Folk. Let's add him too. I mean, he's going to be our other edge rusher here. Jerza Newton. Why is he not starting? Love Jerza. Middle linebacker, Quay Walker. Mikey Sandersill. Starling Thomas is going to be our nickel. And why is Mike Sandersill at 2 spots at once? Boom. Trey Amos, you're going to be a rotational piece for us. Behind you and Mikey S. And obviously we have a really weak secondary, I feel like, and it is what it is. I think that this is going to be not an overnight fix for their secondary, but I really like what we did on the offensive side of the ball. The cuts that we made, if you guys want to pause and look here, some of the cap summary, we walked through it as we did this entire thing. The offseason moves, we cut 3. We restructured 1 contract, 0 contracts extended. There's a lot of guys that need to prove what they're worth before we extend anybody. We made 0 trades just because we don't have the draft capital to do it. We signed 9 free agents, put that cap space to work, and then we made 1 draft pick. As we talked about, the cuts were Marshawn Lattimore, Frankie Louvu, and Will Harris. We restructured Javon Kidlaw, added a void year. We added a restricted free agent tender on Chris Rodriguez Jr. We signed back Treylon Burks for 2 years, George Pickens for 4, Isaiah Likely for 3, Clavion Chason for 2, Drake Jackson, Nashawn Wright, Starling Thomas, Quay Walker for 3 years, Josh Jones for 2 years, and then we took Kendrick Folk with our 7th pick in the NFL draft. They gave me a B in this offseason grade. Commanders fans, everybody else, what would you give this offseason grade? I think I did pretty good. Focus on the future. Let me know in the comments below. Remember, if you are liking this Be a GM model, go to Stick the Model. Try it out yourself. Also, remember to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching.
I just spit it. Good girl, we're getting paper as a passion. Collect the stash.